All right, let's start by giving all praises to the Most High, whose true name in Hebrew is Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rakah Quadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, and the Holy Spirit, who taught us his truth. Honors to the brethren that's doing the work to push the gospel, risking their life and freedom to do so. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of the true Israelites, the nation of Israel. So we back with another lesson through the power and spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. This lesson is going to be titled, And He Spake as a Dragon. Again, it's going to be titled, And He Spake as a Dragon. This will be concerning House Bill number 5, which is a set of laws that's starting to be pushed throughout America. And these laws go contribute to civil unrest, race wars, and civil wars, martial law, all hell breaking loose. So we're going to start with this first precept, Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. Now this beast is a kingdom, and this beast of a kingdom will arise from among the people of the earth. This beast, which is made up by NATO and America. And to the rest of the world, America is a beast. And he had two horns and spake like a lamb. Two horns representing the two political parties here in America, the Republicans and the Democrats, which horns represent power. So the two separate powers, the Republicans and the Democrats. And like a lamb, because your politicians, government, president, and world leaders, um, they portray themselves as a lamb, but they really a wolf. They come off as soft-spoken, humble, for the people, down to earth, but really they wicked as hell. They rape, rob, murder women, child sex trafficking, drinking blood, etc. But it says he spake as a dragon, and that's the focus, that he spake as a dragon. Now, none of us ever heard of a talking dragon in real life. That you know this is a metaphor. But we're going to get into this. So to understand that he spake as a dragon, which is the title of the lesson, we're going to come over here and we're going to look at this word draconian. The root word for draconian will be Draco or Draco. And the word dragon is derived from the word Draco or Draco. So use the word draconian to describe laws or rules that are really harsh and repressive. And as we scroll down here, Draco was a guy who made some seriously strict laws. So rules that are too restrictive or just plain unfair are called draconian. So again, draconian laws are laws that are seriously strict, restrictive, and straight up unfair. So when it says, and he spake as a dragon, that he would speak into legislation these unfair and these very strict, these harsh laws, which are starting to surface throughout America. Sentencing someone to 10 years in prison for littering would be draconian, would be speaking as a dragon. And this ain't too far-fetched. Somebody getting 10 years for littering, which we're going to see as we get into the middle of the lesson. Now, just looking more at this word from another website, it reads draconian laws, ancient Greek law, which you know the Greeks were also Edomites, who are called white people today. But when we go down here, it reads the draconian laws were most noteworthy for their harshness. So harsh, strict, unfair, unjust laws, completely unfair to the people. They were said to be written in blood rather than ink. This is the point. Death was prescribed for almost all criminal offenses, this is the point. He spake as a dragon, that through his mouthpiece, his legislation, he will put in the law, put into action these strict, unfair, unjust, restrictive, oppressive laws. And these laws will come with very severe, harsh consequences, even death for the simplest of things. And we're going to show that in the lesson. Now, again, he spake as a dragon. That goes into draconian laws, very harsh, death prescribed for almost all criminal offenses. Well, we're now going to jump to the book of Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees. Another word for decree would be a law. And that right grievousness which they have prescribed. So unrighteous decree would be an unfair or an unjust law. That right grievousness, remember, because the laws got to be written into legislation, which they have prescribed, decreed. Now, let's look at this also in the NLT. What sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. Yep, so that's what this is saying. Unjust, unfair laws from the unjust judges. Being Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. To turn aside the needy from judgment, to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. So in the NLT, they deprive the poor of justice and deny rights of the needy among my people. So yeah, your justice, your rights getting taken away under these draconian laws. Since here in the last days, Esau is beginning to speak like a dragon. They prey on widows and take advantage of orphans. This would be a metaphor, for Israel first, but also the American people too, because they ain't getting shown no love neither. Esau, doing wickedly to his own people. All right, so now we're going to talk about Esau speaking as a dragon here in the last days. So we're going to talk about House Bill 5. And this article is titled, Kentucky is about to pass the cruelest criminal justice bill in America. And, this is concerning Kentucky, but you see aspects of this bill being passed throughout America. This ain't just Kentucky. All right, so a couple of things we want to mention, and Shalom and Thawada to my mom for helping me with this lesson. She sent me a text with these laws and etc. Now I'm finally doing a lesson on it. All right, so homelessness will be a crime. Homelessness, you not having a home, you not having nowhere to go, you not having a physical apartment or a home or a shelter to go to. So homelessness, that's you sleeping in your car. That's you sleeping at a park. That's you sleeping outside of a store after hours. So yeah, homelessness ranges. So homelessness will be a crime. Also, they are decriminalizing shooting and killing someone if they are on your property. Again, they are decriminalizing shooting and killing people if they're on your property. But we're going to get into it with the article. Also, too, it don't matter what they're doing. If they're on your property, you kill them, that's going to be decriminalized. All right, so now we're going to get into this bill. We're going to read the first paragraph. On March 14th, the Kentucky Senate Judiciary Committee voted to approve House Bill 5, the Safer Kentucky Act. The legislation will now head to the Senate floor for a vote, and it will almost certainly pass. The 78-page bill criminalizes homelessness and decriminalizes the use of deadly force against individuals engaging in unlawful camping. Unlawful camping would be homeless people sleeping wherever they can find a place to sleep, whether it's in the park, whether it's in the alley, whether it's in your driveway or your backyard or the field across the street from you. That's unlawful camping. Pretty much, if you see some homeless people, you don't like where they at, you can use deadly force against them. Why? Because being homeless is going to be a crime. It's going to be against the law to be homeless. Under this law, if a property owner believes an unhoused trespasser is attempting to commit a felony or attempting to dispossess them, they can shoot the homeless person. So, yeah, if you see the homeless person is about to, you know, commit a felony, trespassing, they're occupying private property unauthorized, you can shoot them and you most likely gonna get off. But yeah, this would be Esau speaking as a dragon, passing them draconian laws. How unjust, how unfair is it to make homeless a crime? It's illegal to be homeless now. It's illegal to sleep wherever you can find a quiet place to sleep. So yeah, that's Esau speaking as a dragon. That's some draconian laws. Unfair, unjust, strict, harsh laws. Now, we're gonna talk about the other aspect of this House Bill 5. So the three strike law, that's part of this bill, which if you do or get caught doing any of the crimes that we mentioned, you get caught 3 times, that's automatic life sentence. So we gonna read this second paragraph. That's not all. Really, this is like 20 bills packed into one. A criminal justice policy analyst at the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy told us a slew of tough on crime policies will create or enhance penalties for sleeping in your car. So yeah, it will create punishments or enhance, meaning make more severe existing punishments for sleeping in your car. So let's say you homeless, you know, you lost your home, you lost your apartment, or you said F it and you sold it, but you still got your vehicle to get around and you sleeping in your vehicle. Well, that's going to be a crime. That's a draconian law. That's Esau speaking as a dragon, damaging your apartment while moving out. We're going to talk more about that, or fleeing from the police. We're going to talk about more about that. It will institute a 3-strike law. It will institute a 3-strike rule, where the third strike is either a mandatory life sentence or execution. So yeah, what's the crimes that we just talked about in the first 2 paragraphs? Homelessness. If you're being caught being homeless, unlawful camping, you sleeping wherever you can find a place to sleep because you're homeless. You get caught being homeless 3 times. You get caught sleeping somewhere where you're not supposed to be sleeping 3 times. You get what? You get a mandatory life sentence. You get execution. Now, back on these that we just read, sleeping in your car 3 times, caught damaging apartment while moving out 3 times, fleeing from the police 3 times, mandatory life sentence or execution. Now let's go back to this word draconian law that we read just a minute ago. The draconian laws were most noteworthy for their harshness. They were said to be written in blood rather than ink. Death was prescribed for almost all criminal offenses. So Esau speaking as a dragon, under these draconian laws, death is a punishment for almost all criminal offenses. Then when we go back to this House Bill 5, sleeping in your car, damaging your apartment just by mistake, um, being homeless, unlawful camping. If you get caught doing any of those, 3 times, you could face execution. That's being punished by death. That's a draconian law. Because again, under draconian law, death was prescribed for almost all criminal offenses. So criminal offenses such as being homeless, not having nowhere to sleep, sleeping in your car, damage your apartment, you could get a life sentence or execution. All right, so that's a 3 strike law aspect of this House Bill 5. All right, so now we're going to jump down to paragraph number 3. More than 100 advocacy groups in Kentucky opposed the bill, but they face a veto-proof supermajority of Republicans animated by fears of a non-existent crime wave, driven by a desire to control Democratic cities. So they saying that this bill was passed by a majority of Republicans, and what the Republicans are trying to do is trying to control these Democratic cities. So, this is going to cause problems, not even for your normal citizens, the working people, the homeless people, but this is going to affect the people, your politicians as well. Because that's going to cause chaos in the streets, but it's also causing chaos in the courthouse, in the Supreme Court. And let's see, and backed by conservative think tank pushing similar legislation across the country. So let's read this again. And backed by a conservative think tank pushing similar legislation across the country. House Bill 5 is the most extreme anti-homeless, tough on crime bill introduced in the state legislature this year. And copies of the House Bill 5 could soon start popping up across the country. So that's the point, that this is not just with Kentucky, that across America they're pushing similar legislation. And they said copies of this bill gonna start popping up across the country. So this is Esau speaking as a dragon. It's gonna start here and there, different cities, different towns across America, but it's all gonna converge, meaning come together, where it's gonna where it's gonna take over all of America with these draconian laws. And just real quick, we're gonna get a precept. We're gonna hit Isaiah 19:2, and I will set Egyptian against the Egyptians. They shall fight, everyone against his brother, everyone against his neighbor, city against city, kingdom against kingdom. Why we bring this precept out? Because of this right here. Republicans animated by fears of a non-existent crime wave, driven by a desire to control Democratic cities. So with these bills, you're going to have the homeless versus the homeowners, the job versus the jobless, the Democrats versus the Republicans. So there's going to be beef and contention on all levels. And again, it's going to start popping up across all of America. Now, also, too, we're going to read this last sentence and you're going to jump to paragraph number 5. House Bill 5 is the most extreme anti-homeless, tough on crime bill introduced in the state legislature this year, and copies of HB 5 could soon start popping up across the country. And then this is just a statement. It's unfathomable cruelty. And what's that unfathomable cruelty? That's these harsh, unfair, strict, restrictive laws, these draconian laws. All right, so now we're going to go to paragraph 5. Let's see. According to the Cicero Institute, the think tank's motto, legislation, this House Bill 5, has been enacted in Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, and Utah. So, yeah, this House Bill 5, right now they're talking about Kentucky, but it's new there. But it's already happening in these states and other cities across the US. Like, for example, I'm in Texas. And in Texas, there's a lot of field with grass, trees, nobody's there. They got walkways, there's ponds, or it might not be no walkways. It's just grass and trees. And what you will see, like in the evening, you will see all the homeless people putting their tents up. But I noticed a few summers, a few years ago, we like, dang, we don't see the homeless setting up no more. And come to find out, they made it homeless, or excuse me, come to find out, they made it illegal for the homeless people to set up tents in the wilderness. And going back up to paragraph number 1, what did they say? That the House bill criminalizes homelessness. And that what? It would criminalize unlawful camping. So you can just set up shop and camp wherever you find convenient. All right, but let's get this all the way through. Let's get this all right, and its homelessness policies have advanced in legislature in 20 states. So yeah, over 20 states already got these anti-homeless policies, unlawful camping policies, the three strike rule. You get caught doing the simplest of things 3 times, you could face a mandatory life sentence or execution. All right, so now we're gonna get this next paragraph. If HB5 passes, sleeping outside in public or on private property will become unlawful camping. Sleeping in the park, sleeping on the street in your car, sleeping on like a store's property in the parking lot after hours. That would be unlawful camping. First offenders will be fined $250. These people are already homeless and already ain't got nothing, but you're going to charge them $250 plus late fees, court fees. Further offenses could result in a Class B misdemeanor, which carries the same fine and up to 90 days in jail. Someone who just needs a bed could find themselves in a cycle of fines and jail time. But we already know what happens on the third strike. Let's go back there to remind the listeners. A slew of tough on crime policies will create or enhance penalties for sleeping in your car, damaging your apartment while moving out, or fleeing from police. It will institute a three-strike rule, where the third strike is either mandatory life sentence or execution. Now back to paragraph 6. It gave you the first offenders, $250. It said further offenses could be a Class B misdemeanor, with 90 days in jail. But what's after that? That mandatory life sentence, that execution. That's the draconian laws. That's Esau speaking as a dragon. That's those unrighteous decrees, unfair, unjust laws. And what are some reasons, you know, that people will become homeless and decide they want to sleep outside, sleep in public, sleep in their cars? Well, first, the housing market, interest rates crazy high, up to 5 and 7%. So the housing market is all messed up. The economy is all messed up. Inflation is through the roof. everything is super expensive. You know, your wages, your salary at work don't match the rate that inflation is increasing. So everything is super high. And then some people they go homeless to save some money. Like I've been seeing that on YouTube lately. You know, people have a YouTube channel and it's based on how they live in a car. You know, different electronics that may plug up in a van or if they got a trailer, how they use public restrooms and gym showers, you know, to shower and to clean up, and how they make the most out of what they have. And I got a cousin who was just talking to me about the same thing, that, you know, he's going to keep his car, but he's going to go homeless, you know, for like a year and just save up his money, you know, so he can sort of get himself out of the hole that he in right now. And I told him I respect that. I feel that because I told him I had been thinking about the same thing. I'm not that I'm gonna do it, but if I didn't, you know, have a house, have a girl, that I would go homeless. You know, I would work. You know, probably bounce around from my mom to my sisters, give them some money, but be homeless. Cause I'm gone all the time. I'm either at work or I'm out doing the work, working out at the store. I barely ever play the game or watch TV. I don't even do nothing at the house. Pretty much sleep. So, you know, but but it's gonna be a lot of people with that mentality. You know, let me get rid of this apartment. Let me get rid of this house. I'm gonna just be homeless. Well, guess what? You can't be homeless. Why? Because sleeping outside in public or private property is gonna be called unlawful camping. That includes sleeping in your car on the street, unlawful camping. Sleeping in your car in somebody's driveway, that's unlawful camping. Because remember, this House Bill 5 is doing what? It's criminalizing homelessness. Being homeless will be a crime. Unlawful camping will be a crime. And if somebody catch you sleeping on private or public property, you partake in unlawful camping, well, somebody can use deadly force against you, because deadly force against the homeless is being decriminalized. So what? You see an increase in the homeless population right now because of the economy, because of the housing market crisis, which is studies out there that 90% of Americans can't afford to buy a home. Most people live in paycheck to paycheck. For the first time in history, having an apartment is more expensive than having a house. So yeah, the homeless population is only going to increase as more banks fail, as more of these companies and corporations and chain stores and chain restaurants start to close. There's going to be more and more homeless people out there. But guess what? Being homeless is going to be illegal. It's going to be criminalized. Unlawful camping. Where you going to sleep at? You know, these people going to have to go somewhere. Eventually, the park's going to be full. The alleyways, the parking lots, it's going to be full. Where these people going to go? So they're going to be forced to be, you know, in people's backyards, people's front yards, the field across the street. And people going to be uneasy and upset, and they're going to use that deadly force. So Esau is really passing this House 5 bill, you know, throughout the states to set the stage for all hell to break loose. And we just getting started with the lesson. Lord willing, we about halfway done, but hey, we just getting started. We just getting started. So yeah, we talked about how people would want to save money, so they go homeless by choice. And that many more people not about to have a choice. You know, they can't maintain the standard of living because of inflation, the economy. There's going to be more and more homeless people every day. But also, too, you got all the migrants coming over here from China, Iraq, Iran, Russia, Korea, Venezuela, South America, Peru, Kenya, Sudan. Well, where are these people going to go? And real quick, too, we got a couple videos we're going to play. Lord willing, we can get to them real quick. We're going to play this one real quick. So check this out.
This is Tompkins Park. This is the most popular migrant shelter where all of these men come once they come into New York City. There are hundreds upon thousands of men. We have met men that have wristbands, and their number is in the 19,000 before they can go in and sleep in that shelter. Mayor Adams put out a paper, and he put out an announcement saying that after these men have been in the shelter, 30 days is their limit. After 30 days, they will no longer be able to be housed. They will be put out on the streets, homeless. What we learned today by reading, we physically held the paper that says what.
Man, Black Truck, y'all heard that?
30 days is their limit. After 30 days, they will no longer be able to be housed. They will be put out on the streets, homeless. What we learned today by reading, we physically.
So what? Single male migrants, people that's coming in through the border, that what? After 30 days, they can no longer stay in the shelter, but they'll what? Be put out on the streets. And what's the problem with that? You know, they're going to be put out on the streets to be homeless. But at the same time, you got the government, Esau Edom the white man, criminalizing homelessness. So you gave these people all these benefits, now you're throwing them out on the streets to be homeless. But at the same time, you're making it illegal to be homeless. You're making it illegal to sleep on private or public property. So where they gonna go? But let's get back to this video and watch some more.
The paper that says what is going to be happening to these migrant men. On that paper, it said that migrant families will not be treated the same way as these migrant men. Migrant families will be able to reapply. After 30 days, they'll be able to reapply for a different shelter. So all these men that you see around here, you don't need that, are soon to be let out on the streets in New York City. And homeless. And what they said, one man said, why did Joe Biden let us come in? Why did Joe Biden let us come in if he's not going to allow us to work? Someone said that to me today. Because these men are not allowed to work, they don't have work permits, and they're basically just stuck, hanging out here all day long. So y'all see Mayor Eric Adams of New York talking about we only gonna house the migrants for 30 days, and then they gotta go. So you deemed yourself a sanctuary city. Then you get them nice and comfortable. You got them put up somewhere. You give them some money, some food, get them settled in. And then you pull the rug from under them and say, you got 30 days and y'all got to go. Well, the good thing is he's giving them tickets to be flown all across America. Not back home, though. Not out the country, but to other places. And the reason why is because they can't support all the migrants.
So yeah, you let all these people coming over here, but then, you kicking them out to be homeless on the streets. So what are they going to do? They can't be homeless on the street. They can't sleep on public or private property. That's unlawful camping. Not to mention, if they get caught 3 times with the 3-strike rule, they can face either a mandatory life sentence or execution. So where are these people going to go? Well, they're going to resort to squatting. Now, I just did a lesson on this a couple weeks ago. Now we're going to show you what squatting is. Squatting is a term to describe somebody who occupies a home or a building. Whether that home or building is vacant or somebody is living there. For example, it could be a vacant, abandoned building, apartment. Somebody could squat in there, meaning living in there unauthorized. Or for example, let somebody take a vacation and they leave their house for 2 weeks. Well, squatters might go up in there. They might live in the house, in the basement, in the attic, or in the backyard. But let's get this video real quick.
A growing problem and a nightmare for landlords, squatters, who take advantage of laws that allow them to live rent-free as the lengthy court process plays out.
Squatters, the new virus taking over America, stealing homes people have worked their entire lives to obtain. But what nobody's talking about is that America's squatting epidemic looks like it's being allowed to happen on purpose.
Boarded up windows, shattered glass, and trash everywhere, all the result of squatters in the place. And people living in this Brooklyn neighborhood say not even the police can help.
You've heard and seen the horror stories, intruders gaining entry or breaking into unoccupied homes and residences, in some cases mansions, throwing wild parties and living rent and care-free.
One of the alleged squatters destroyed their security camera. A few months later, another neighbor caught them taking water from her hose through a hole in the fence.
The alleged squatter says he has every right to be here, and he showed me a lease, which he says proves it. But the agent selling this multi-million-dollar estate says that lease is a fake.
Why can't you just change the locks?
Oh, I will be arrested instantly.
They turned off the hot water and then reported that they had no hot water. It's a $250 fine.
The situation intensified when the house caught fire, but it was just the first of 3 fires at this house as recently as last month.
The police came. They cannot do nothing, they said.
All right, so that's squatters, somebody that illegally occupies a home or a building, whether you there or not. They come in with fake leases, fake documentation, saying they got rights to that property. So that's not only concerning the homeless people in America, but also these illegal foreigners that's coming across the southern border. Now you got migrant squatters as well, but with the migrant squatters, you got illegal guns, drugs, etc. You know, part of that is propaganda, but let's check out the video.
8 migrants are in ICE custody this morning after a raid where police discovered illegal guns and drugs in the house where they were squatting. All of this happening just steps away from an elementary school. By the way, this is not the first time
That is unbelievable, and experts say it's only the beginning of a much larger growing problem.
Yeah, this is only the beginning of the trouble to come.
Surveillance video shows the moment 4 NYPD officers are seen running in the direction of a multifamily home. They were responding to a call about a man with a gun. They chased one man into the basement.
Authorities say they were part of a heavily armed group of migrants allegedly selling drugs after taking over this multi-family house.
The problem is that there were squatters. There were a lot of people, a lot of young people, a lot of motorcycles. They were a nuisance to the neighborhood.
The suspect who prompted that 911 call that set all of this off, it's this guy on your screen. He was accused of shooting a man last year.
The 8 suspects face gun, drug, and child endangerment charges. All but 2 of them were released without bail.
If you don't know that the state of New York's justice system has collapsed, you don't want to know.
Police say this is one part of one migrant gang, and there are others.
So yeah, that's the point. You know, you got the American people going homeless daily with these banks and corporations going under. People want to go homeless to save money. You know what I'm saying? But also you got these foreigners that was given all this government assistance in the single males. You know, after 30 days, they kicked out the shelter. They ain't got nowhere to go. Well, guess what? You can't sleep in your car. You know what I'm saying? Guess what? You can't just camp outside. They call that unlawful camping, whether it's public or private property. They're criminalizing being homeless. So what do they got to do? They got to resort to squatting. That's living in your backyard, your front yard, your attic, your basement. or just living in your house, whether you there or not, because that's the only option they got. So also too, they also decriminalizing the use of deadly force. So if somebody do sleep in your front yard, backyard, they squatting in your home, they in the field across the street from you, they in the abandoned house next door to you, you can use deadly force. Well, guess what? That's just the beginning. So let's get this next paragraph. We're gonna get paragraph 12 and 13. Okay, so let's also get this. The part of House Bill 5 that makes it unlawful, and the part of HB 5 that makes it lawful in certain circumstances for people to shoot homeless people on their property will only encourage reckless gun owners to kill first, ask questions later. So what they're saying, them decriminalizing use of deadly force is going to cause an increase in gun violence. Now let's get the next paragraph. The Safer Kentucky Act creates the opportunity for vigilantism against violent crime, which impacts far beyond the homeless population. The state has already strong stand your ground laws. Individuals do not have to retreat before using deadly force and are immune from prosecution or civil action. A 2022 study found that the stand your ground laws led to an 8 to 11% increase in gun homicides and violent death. Well, guess what? The HB5 expand these laws. So guess what? They're going to see an even greater increase in gun homicides and violent deaths. So what? They're going to be using deadly force against the homeless, whether they be American or be these illegal immigrants. But guess what? Esau speaking like a dragon. Guess what? Now these illegal immigrants, they're going to be armed and dangerous as well. They're going to be shooting back. And now let's show why. Well, let's get this screenshot right here. Obama appointee and liberal Illinois federal judge Sharon Johnson Coleman rules illegal migrants can carry guns legally. So now all these Chinese, these Asians, these Middle Easterns, these Africans, these Russians, these migrants that's losing their government assistance, their government benefits, they're just gonna be out here on the street. Well, guess what? They're gonna be carrying guns too. So what? Esau the white man, he's decriminalizing the use of deadly force against the homeless. Well, them same homeless people, they gonna have firearms too. To what? To use deadly force. So Esau is setting the stage for all hell to break loose. You gonna have the unemployed versus the employed, the homeowners versus the homeless. Different rival squatter gangs. The squatters, they form gangs and stuff. So yeah, Esau is setting the stage for all hell to break loose. And here just go another screenshot. Illegal immigrants can now carry guns. A federal judge has ruled. And you don't hear about that part of it. And this came out first. That the illegal immigrants could carry guns, that came out first. That's why they passed the House Bill 5 Act, that Americans can now use deadly force against the homeless. All right, so now we're going to go on to the next paragraph. All right. So this is the next one. Beyond pushing for a harsher sentencing, the bill also puts private property first. For example, any amount of what a landlord believes is intentional damage caused by a tenant moves out could result in a criminal mischief charge. And we know that according to paragraph 2, that, let me see, a slew tough on crime policies will create or enhance penalties for sleeping in your car, damaging your apartment while moving out, or fleeing from the police. That what? It will institute a 3-strike rule, where the third strike is either a mandatory life sentence or execution. But let's get back to this paragraph. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so for example, any amount of what a landlord believes is intentional damage caused by the tenant moves out could result in a criminal mischief charge. And regardless of what it is, the third strike, you're getting life in prison or execution. Now, this not just somebody damaging their apartment. So let's say you got squatters in your house, in your apartment, in your backyard, in your garage. But let's say, you know what? I'm going to change the locks. What do you think will happen for you changing the locks? Well, let's go back to this first video.
A lease, which he says proves it, but the agent selling this multi-million-dollar estate says that lease is a fake.
Why can't you just change the locks?
Oh, I will be arrested instantly.
You heard him? Why can't you just change the locks?
Why can't you just change the locks?
Oh, I will be arrested instantly.
So you can't change the locks. You'll be arrested instantly because changing the locks is considered intentional damage to your apartment. All because you trying to keep your house, your apartment safe. Let's say you got a grandma, a ma, a sister, a wife, some kids, but you got some illegal Chinese or some dope dealing, drug fiend niggas up in there. And you want to keep your environment safe, so you change the locks. Guess what? That's considered intentional damage. And guess what? You can go to jail. Now check this out. New York City homeowner arrested for changing locks on squatters who broke into her house. So Esau made it illegal to modify your apartment. That's what they mean by intentional damage. That's you modifying your apartment, to make it more safe for you. Now let's assume this woman, her, stays alone. She's elderly. Matter if she elderly or not, she's a woman. Her environment gotta be safe. And Esau made that illegal. So it's illegal for you to be safe. It's illegal for you to do what's best for your family. So that's some draconian laws. Revelation 13 and 11, and he spake as a dragon. That's what? That's them unfair, them strict laws. Sentencing someone for 10 years in prison. Well, guess what? You're going to get life in prison. The third time you get caught changing your locks. Third time in prison. Life in prison. The third time you changing your locks. Life in prison. The third time you caught sleeping outside or on the street in your car or in the parking lot of a store after they close. Life in prison on the third time. Not to mention, death was prescribed for almost all criminal offenses. So it would be life in prison or death. Sleeping outside in a parking lot, on the street, in your car, changing the locks on your apartment. Now let's get back to this video. Listen to the other part of it.
Selling this multi-million-dollar estate says that lease is a fake.
Why can't you just change the locks?
Oh, I will be arrested instantly.
They turned off the hot water and then reported that they had no hot water. It's a $250 fine.
So let's say, the squatters, they find a way to hack your water system. Now they stealing your water. Now let's say you turn the water off on them. You get the $250 fine, not them. You get in trouble for protecting your water, protecting your resources so that your bills don't skyrocket. They ain't got to pay for nothing. They can pretty much live for free. All right. So, yeah. So, again, for example, any amount of what a landlord believes is intentional damage caused by the tenant moves out could result in a criminal mischief charge. So intentional damage goes into shutting your water off so that the migrants can't steal your water. It goes into you changing your locks. Let's say they somehow got a key to your house, to your apartment. Let's say they breaking through your windows and you put up burglar bars, but you don't own the property. That would be considered intentional damage. But now let's say you got a house or an apartment and you move out because the squatters done trashed it. They done broke down your walls. They stealing your water. They done broke the locks, broke the doors. They done trashed the place. Let's say you move out because they trashed it. Well, guess what? The damage that they caused will fall on you because it's your name on the lease. So again, any amount of what a landlord believes is intentional damage caused while the tenant moves out could result in a criminal mischief charge. So let's say you got squatters, living in your apartment, living in your house. You be like, F it, I'm moving. Well, guess what? You're going to be charged for the damage that they caused. And if you get caught a third time, what is that third time going to result in? It's going to result in either a mandatory life sentence or an execution. For what? For damaging your apartment. That goes into modifications to your apartment as well as damage that you didn't cause. All right, so we're going to move on from here. So, yeah, we're going to get these last few precepts. So, again, Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, a kingdom that will rise into power from amongst the people. He had 2 horns, 2 political parties, like a lamb. He comes humble, soft-spoken, appears to be for the people, but he's wicked. And he spake as a dragon. That's those draconian laws, those strict, unfair, unjust laws. Getting 10 years or life in prison for living, pretty much. Life in prison for sleeping. Life in prison for being too poor to have a home. Life in prison for changing the locks on your apartment or moving out because somebody else damaged it. Getting a death penalty for sleeping outside, public property, private property, in your car. The death penalty for just being homeless, not having nowhere to go. That's them draconian laws. That's Esau speaking as a dragon. Now, let's prove that it's going to get that to the point where Esau putting people to death. So this is Revelation 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So not worshiping the image of the beast will get you killed. In summary, that's going along with Esau's agenda into the New World Order, getting the RFID microchip, getting all the hokey pokeys, etc. That if you refuse to get the microchip, if you refuse to go along with his New World Order, you will be killed. That's some draconian laws. Because remember, death was prescribed for almost all criminal offenses. That's what Revelation 13 and 15 said, that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So that's going to set the stage for Egyptian against Egyptian. They shall fight everyone against his brother. So you're going to have homeless population all over the place, Americans that done lost their house. They went broke. They bank collapsed. They company, they corporation went under. They homeless by choice to save some money. The illegal migrants that was given shelter and government assistance, they lost it after 30 days. They got nowhere to go. Then you got the American people who's holding on to their homes, etc. They can now use deadly force. Well, guess what? These immigrants, they can now use deadly force, seeing that they can carry guns and firearms. So yeah, they shall fight everyone against his brother, everyone against his neighbor. Your neighbor may be a squatter. They may live next door to you or live in the same house as you, or maybe living in your backyard. You can't run them off. Yeah, you can use deadly force. It's decriminalized, but guess what? Now it's in their power to use deadly force too, because the federal judge ruled that they can carry guns legally. So now we're going to hit 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. The destruction being the nuclear destruction, the sword being the race wars, the civil wars, the purges that's going to take place here in America. So they setting the stage right now for a great purge, a great extermination, a great civil war to happen in the streets of America. And one people shall stand up and fight against another. The homeowners versus the homeless, the unemployed versus the employed, the Republicans versus the Democrats. You know what I'm saying? The Palestinian versus those who are pro-Israel. So-called whites against so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Hispanics. So it's going to be a war on all levels. People are going to be fighting on all levels. And one people shall stand up and fight against another and swords in their hands. The sword being what? The AR-15, 9mm, the AK-47. It would be guns. Because that make even sense too when we go back to this HB5. Because what did it say? They decriminalizing the use of deadly force. So they what? They encouraging the use of firearms. They encouraging the American people to use the sword. For there should be sedition among men and invading one another. Why they gonna be invading one another? For the lack of bread, great tribulation. Why they gonna be invading one another? Because it's gonna be illegal to be homeless. It's gonna be illegal to sleep outside, private property, public property. It's gonna be illegal to sleep in your car. So what? These people, they gotta come sleep in your house. They gotta come sleep in your apartment, in your garage, in your back or front yard. So invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. They won't give a damn about the politicians. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. What's that power? That firepower. So the more guns people got, the more active they're going to get. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. That goes into a military lockdown, martial law. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed. You know, through the squatters, people invading one another, firefights, meaning what? Shootouts, use of deadly weapons, deadly force. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Everybody gonna be homeless. Banks, companies, corporations gonna continue to go under. The stores gonna go empty. They're gonna turn the water off. No internet, no power, no EMS, no firefighters, no police. Nobody's coming to help you. No hospitals, no prescriptions, no pharmacy, a famine. So that's a lack of bread and great tribulation. Friends gonna fight like enemies. And this is all leading up to what? Revelation 13 and 16. Let's get that now. Any cause of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. How are they going to get the people to do that? Let's jump here real quick. I believe this is Job 16 and 12. I was at ease, but he hath broken me asunder. He hath also taken me by my neck and shaken me to pieces and set me up for his mark. How is he setting up the people up for his mark? Well, right now, the American people are at ease. They can do as they please. But what? Esau is setting the stage for it to be hell on earth, to be the worst place in all of creation, right here in America. So that what? That people are going to run and take this mark in their right hand and their forehead, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So if you just want to get back to your life, get back to your comfortabilities, get back to eating and drinking as normal, you got to get that mark. But what does the Lord say? He who save his life shall lose it. So if you try to get back to normal or reestablish your life or save your life by getting this mark, you're going to lose it in that nuclear fire. But what? He that shall lose his life. So if you die for refusing to worship the image of the beast, to go along with Esau's New World Order, this RFID microchip, you'll be given that crown of life if you of the elect of the nation of Israel. But yeah, Esau is setting the stage for all hell to break loose in America. You know, that's him speaking as a dragon. And this is House Bill 5. Criminalizing homelessness. Legalizing the use of deadly force. That pretty much what sums it up. Be what? Them unrighteous decrees to take away justice and judgment. To take away the rights of the people. But that's it for this lesson here. So next time, Shalom.